Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another Supercoach Insider podcast. My name is Swizz, here Thursday night, 15 minutes before the Richmond-Brisbane game at the Gabba, just to do some last-minute chats, not just about my team, but a few of the questions that we've had coming in, which, as always, we appreciate. As always, continue to check us out and support us on all our social media platforms, SoundCloud, Spotify, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, Supercoach Insider 100 or Swizz26 for me directly. And thank you to our sponsors, Splash Vodka, for all their ongoing support. All right, so I've had a bit of a think about, let's go captains. With Dusty out, was considering going Dunkley, but I'm going to stick fat and look at one of the Adelaide players. Still going to lean towards Dawson there. I just really like that matchup. I know Liam Shields is in. I still think he probably gives more attention to Laird, so it's really hard for me to ignore that as much as the Friday night option is easy. With having Madden and Briggs there, that isn't easy to go as late as possible. There is some thought about Bont because he does do very well against Fremantle, so I had thought about that. But yeah, I think I'll stick fat with what I'm doing there. In regards to captain, I'm still looking at Sinclair. I think one of those Saints players is still a good shout nonetheless. So nothing's changed there. Nothing still has changed from my trades point of view. It's still Libra at the moment, but it all depends on Mills. And with Warner out, that should give Mills a more of an uptick tomorrow night against Geelong. And if he does well, then naturally, as I said the other day, I won't need the extra midfielder because I'll be targeting Mills, so Libba will become Butters. But if Mills does struggle, even in with that opportunity that now opens up with Warner being out, I will stick fat with Libba and look at bringing a forward down the track, which will obviously be Jeremy Cameron, unless somebody else stands out. That hasn't put their hand up so far to be an option, but he seems to be the obvious one. And with already having 23 premiums, the 24th, I can kind of take a risk on somebody who could go big on any given week there. The annoying thing about my team is Harrison is currently being left out of the side. Jen, good Collingwood supporter, has said that he's most likely to be sub, or it might have been confirmed sub. So hopefully he gets on early. There's still news about Tom Mitchell floating around that he could be a late out. So as a Harrison owner, I'm kind of hopeful that happens. So we will have to wait and see how that plays out, because I really need one more week of Harrison's cash boost to allow me to do trades down the future. Not so much if a worry if I don't go Mills and if I do go a Jeremy Cameron, because then, as I said, Johnson to Jezza will be an easy move going down the track. Have had some questions from that people have messaged in, which I do appreciate. The one big one was, and I've had this from two people today, what do I do if I've only got 21 premiums and I have no cash gen? And one of these people actually sent me their team, had no cash gen at all on their bench, and their F6 was Sturt, so it was about 170k. And the only solution I could come up with, and I found it hard to recommend this because you don't want to trade out your top premiums, but the only way we could come up with a solution was Dunkley being traded out and Sturt traded out, and then bringing in two sort of, well, you can't even call them premiums, but cheaper options. So with Harry Himmelberg, Keys, Darcy Cameron being the ones that one person in particular was targeting. So if you are in this sort of situation where you found yourself with absolutely no cash at all and needing to get a premium on field, sometimes you've got to take the risk, and sometimes, unfortunately, one of those risks is trading out one of the top scorers in the game who was a really expensive player. So that's what I've done this week with my rucks, with Marshall. Like, the obvious one would have been Briggs, but I'm hoping Briggs can at least stay with Marshall, if not outperform him. But because of his price being nearly 600k, I could turn that and use that money into bringing in Libba. So in a case where if you've got no cash gen, and as I was recommending to one person in particular today, you could potentially look at trying to get a rookie in, and maybe this person could have used 2 trades to get Shedlick in, and hopefully he gets some cash gen going up in the next couple of weeks. But by then, he gets enough cash gen to say turn into a Jeremy Cameron. We're talking 3 or 4 weeks of him playing a rookie on field. Actually, I think even in this case, this player might have even had Shedlick, so it might have had to be like a Fletcher or a real kind of risky rookie there. And then you're hoping to get 2-3 weeks cash gen, and then from there, you're still trying to be hopeful to take them up to someone, and there might not be any options. So, yeah, that was definitely some discussions that people have had today. One that just came through and this was from Sean, would you go Sheasel and Butters or Darcy Cameron and Sinclair? I know Abdul said Butters and Sheasel. I'm going to go Darcy Cameron and Sinclair for that. And to give you a bit more of a longer answer than I gave you on Twitter there, Sean, it's because Darcy Cameron is a great ruck option. If you've got Madden in particular, or one of the other ruck forwards, does give you that cover, which I really like. And I think Sinclair is just one of the top defenders in the league. As good as sort of Butters and Sheasel have been, and definitely, obviously, Butters is a great option. But in this case, I think Sinclair on the run home has proven that he can go 120s, 130s. So, I would, and playing West Coast this week, I feel like that's a 2 premium. Where Sheasel, again, he's been named in the midfield this week. I feel like the roles could change. Clarko could be back within, they're talking about the week after Hawthorn. So, does his role change for that week? So I've got more questions on, say, a Sheasel than trying to bring in a Darcy Cameron who should go at least 95 on the run home, and then a Sinclair who's got the ability to go 110, 115 at least. So hopefully that answers your question there, Sean. In regards to, and we did have a couple other ones come through, which I do appreciate. Lee was talking about, is it worth trading, using up all your trades? But by using all those trades, bringing in cover, so you would, I think for his point would have been by bringing in Houston and Himmelberg, he would have Himmelberg and Fife as his bench cover. So that, again, that 23rd, 24th player, but then be down trades, or is it better to save a trade and not bring in like a premium of Houston and then be playing like a Himmelberg on field? So I know it's a long time with 8 weeks and trying to cover it with no trades, but this is where we're talking about having that good bench cover. So that 23rd, 24th player, as long as it's not a long-term injury, say, let's just say, touch wood, one of the highly owned premiums. I'm actually not going to name a name because I don't want to jinx it, but let's just say one of the highly owned premiums go down for the rest of the season. Yeah, you're going to be in a bit of a bother there without not having that trade, but at least that 23rd and 24th player will come in. Now, I would prefer somebody better than Fife or Himmelberg as your cover, but at least it's definitely some cover going on the run home, and both players have shown in the past that they can go over 100, so I don't mind that from you, Lee. From Jimmy, who to start on field this week? Can't loophole Johnson or Wardlaw. I'd go Wardlaw, mate. He's been named in the guts. LDU will obviously take all the attention, so Wardlaw with Sheasel there, they're going to give as much opportunity as possible. Johnson's been named on the bench, but they do have their full complement now. In saying that, Johnson will probably come on and do all right, but the Bulldogs have been suffocating a lot of midfields this year. When you've got a midfield with Bonton, Libba, Bailey Smith, Treloar, McRae, their list just goes on. So most teams seem to struggle to score against the Doggies, where somebody like Wardlaw, at least he's playing in the guts. That's his position. So yeah, I'd go that way, mate. HCC's, how am I? Yeah, you can hear by the voice it's sort of getting there. So we're bit by bit. Thoughts on getting Sicily in 2 weeks for a Will Day or Jack Steele? Like I really like that Jack Steele to Sicily in 2 weeks, and that's why I've held Sicily, because he's such a pod at the moment. Coming on those last 6 weeks, like what's his ownership overall is 13% of teams. And let's have a look at the top 1% here, because that's naturally what I'm more concerned about with how my ranking is going at the moment. But if I go, where are we here? Hawthorn defenders and James Sicily, we've got ownership of 8%. He's only owned by 163 people in the top 1%, which is roughly around 1,800 people. So my hope is when Sicily comes back, he can go, average 115, 120, if not more. And that's going to give me a massive boost up on the rest of the competition. So, yeah, HTC, if you can do that, I know it's just saying we'll leave you with only one trade, but you will have a HH's cover, which is fine. So I think that something like that would be awesome. Will Day at least gives you a bit more flexibility on what Steele is, unless Steele comes out and pumps out big scores over the next 2 weeks. But you get to look at it anyway, get to see how they're going. To Nikki, Yota, Mills or Himmelberg. Not Mills this week. I'd go, if you want to bring a play in this week, go Himmelberg. Wait on Mills one more week. He's going to definitely drop cash, and you get another week to look at him. So my worry is he's, even with Warner not out, he still hasn't been named in the guts. Now, he's most likely to play there, but we get a week against a very good team to look and see how he plays, see how his body holds up. And then if he comes out and scores like 140, that's amazing. He's not going to drop as much cash, but he's still going to be a 420, and most teams can find a way to get somebody like him in. If he only goes like a 90 or 100 and drops closer to 400, that's even better, but it still shows the scoring. If he only goes like a 70 or, struggles through the game, then we know it's probably a cross or maybe wait for another week. So, yeah, definitely be holding off. At least Himmelberg, we kind of know what the role is going to be. I'm just double checking to make sure where he's been named this week, but I'm pretty sure he's been named in the back line, which he has been. It is Melbourne, but the Alice Springs ground is it's kind of pretty skinny, so Melbourne should be, like both teams, I think, should play through the midfield. Kicking the ball into half back, that should allows Himmelberg to zone off and take a few intercept marks, and especially against Melbourne too, he should get some kick-ins there too. To Aaron Swizz, I have Jezza at F6 and 2 trades. Would you keep or think about going down 1 and getting Mills? So Jezza's only going to miss 1 week. Yeah, okay, he's going to drop cash, but that doesn't mean anything if you keep him. So I would keep him because next week they do play North, and Geelong do need to keep winning. So that's why he's on my radar potentially to bring in next week. Not next week, but when he drops cash. So, when they got North, they've got some big games against the Bombers, Brisbane, Port. So he's going to have to be up fit and firing to make sure Geelong win those games to make finals. So I would definitely be keeping him and then potentially looking at another way of getting Mills next week if he becomes a need be. To Carl, g'day Swizz. Chad Warner out, absolutely. Would you put your faith in one of Devo, Robbo or Johnson? I'm a little bit worried about Johnson this week, mate. I think he's probably going like a 40-50 just because of the way the Bulldogs midfield goes on. Would you move Chad on? Probably not. I'm not too sure exactly what it's just flu for Chad. It's actually, he says injured, so I haven't actually kept up why he was injured. And maybe it's something you need to think about there. At least with Dev Rob, Carl, I wonder, can you put the emergency on Dev Rob tonight? And then Johnson maybe on field, and then you get 2 cracks at it because you've got Warner playing tomorrow. So emergency Rob, if he scores well, keep Warner on field, and then you get his score. If he doesn't, then put Johnson on field. Probably the way to do it to maximise your score. All right, the footy is about to start, so I'll probably take just one more. Slight calf, yeah, so I'd hold him, Carl. And then, and there's just loophole between the 2 players. That's the easiest way to do that. Which works quite well. If you go in Dunkley, lock him in now as your VC. But I like some of the other options going on. Hopefully it is a good game. Carl said you're going emergency dev. That's it. And then it's either Matty J or Trader. And at least you've got the flexibility now, Carl, to have a look at that because if Dev Rov goes well, and I'd be saying you score 55, maybe 60. If you get anything above that, then you're happy to take it. It's not worth using a trade to maybe get an extra 20, 30 points. So, I'd lock it in there, mate. So that's an easy one to do. As I said, short and sweet. So that's my team. Nothing's changed there. I'll tweet out if I do to decide to change anything else. But hopefully everybody has a good Supercoach week. And feel free to hit up myself or Benny or Chris. And if you've got any